I was really keen to have Tamar present or have a discussion with us today because we've travelled around the world, been to many countries looking at aged care and in particular dementia. And it's the old story, isn't it? You discover that the very best in the world is actually right on your doorstep. And that's the situation with what Tamar has created with group homes. And I'm going to ask her what her journey was. But before I do, I'd like to just to give you an idea of what group homes is and what the model is. We've got a couple of slides and again, a handheld video that we took about 2 weeks ago in St Ives. So thank you very much. So if we can just explain that group homes is exactly what it says. It's a group home. If we think back to disability homes, and Tamara says this very well, it's a standard house on a standard street. So here is what they look like. Here is a range of group homes and what they look like inside. So you can see they're in the suburbs of Sydney, across the suburbs of Sydney. 26 now, Tamar? 26 of them. And when you walk inside, this is what you look. So they look like a standard home. They are a standard home on a standard block of soil. And as I grabbed this last night from your website, Ita Buttrose, who is not, I've had a lot to do with Ita. She is not an easy person to please or to get credit from, but she said this is without doubt the best model of dementia care in an assisted environment that I've seen, and I agree with this is a typical home in St Ives that we were at 2 weeks ago. So what you saw there is a typical, it's a 700 square metre block of land, thereabouts?
That one's of 1,000 square metres.
1,000 square metres. So Tamar, can you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us who you are, how you got into this business, and then what is a group home in Group Home Australia?
So some of you might have heard me on the panel, so excuse for the repetition. I've been in the field of dementia care for 27 years, and primarily in residential aged care, in memory care, support units, special care units, and about 12 years ago, just stopped. It was in a hallway, and I could hear the call bells and trolleys and smells, and I thought, I don't want to age in a place like this, and I don't want to put someone I love in a place like this, but what else is out there? And I started a bit of a journey going around the world looking at different models. And it was at the time where I was just finishing my master's in research and had my 4th child. And what the research was saying is people want to stay in their own home. And that's plan A. So I loved how you said plan B, because we live life in plan Bs. I think we plan and we laugh afterwards. And so what does home mean to different people is very much, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, it's a one-size-fits-one. And so it was about raising the capital and disrupting an industry which is a very, excuse the term, a non-sexy industry. People don't like to talk about dementia. People don't like to think about it. And so it was pitching and saying, could we redefine and reframe how we support people to live well with dementia in the community, not locked up in dementia secure units. And so that sort of took us into 2012, where our first home opened in St. Ives. And the Royal Commission then came knocking on our door saying, we're really interested in this model. And why is it that you're doing it and no one else is doing it? Because everyone talks about home-like environments, and people talk about it, and we sell the person-centered care, quality of life, relationship-based, lots of words. And so recommendation 45 was based on the household model. And I know that they looked at, Hammond care as well, but it was very much saying that people thrive in a home environment, particularly for those living with dementia.
And just for the audience, a standard group home is between 6 and 10 residents?
Yes, 6 to 10 residents living together in a home.
Right. And I'm going to jump to the money, because that's what everybody wants to know. How do you do this? So you have 6 to 10 residents in the home. How does the money work, and how much does it cost?
Thanks for starting with the end in mind. And so, yes, the money is as follows. People pay, there's a few models. And so we have people that are over 65 and younger than 65. Younger than 65, people that are on the NDIS. The NDIS will cover about 80%. And then there's a co-contribution for the accommodation, because it's not an SDA. People over 65, they have a few ways of funding their care. And so if we start at $230,000 per annum, take back using your home care package, that will reduce level 4 package, $50,000 per annum. And then you have the option of either putting a lump sum or not, so reducing the fees from $180K even more. And so people can structure their fee and have a co-contribution as they see fit.
And whilst that sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but what you're providing is a vastly different quality of life.
So the way to think about it is people coming into the home are essentially selling their family home when they're moving into Iraq. So in the areas that we build our homes, primarily the houses, and let's just say $1 million, but they're probably north of 2. And so they're selling their family home, and then they can use about $250,000 with us for the length of time that they're going to stay with us, anywhere from 24 to 36 months. Some people stay longer, some people less. But essentially, it's a choice for the children, because it's primarily the children or the partner that are making this choice to move into care. And so it is affordable, but they do have to structure their fees in a particular way. And
you have grown organically from that first home in St. Ives. What year did that open?
2012.
2012, and we're in 2024 now. So in 12 years, Tamar Krebs on her own. You don't have a large corporation behind you. You've just done it yourself, and so you now have 26 of these.
Well, we have great shareholders, and we have a great team. And the industry, unfortunately or fortunately, there is a big need to think differently about dementia, because there's horror stories. And we have a generation, and it was spoken about yesterday and today, it's not just the baby boomers. We're seeing baby boomers and Gen X's, and they have different needs, different wants, different desires, and we need to make sure that we're not planning a model. And that's why I very rarely talk about a model of care, but a home is something that can be reimagined, rethought, reset, and just keep innovating for the different generations that are coming through.
So tell the audience about your home carers.
So our homemakers, our staff.
Homemakers.
So when redesigning the homes and rethinking about how are we going to do this, it was not just about best practice dementia design or creating a home or what does that look like. It was redesigning the workforce architecture. And when we talk about workforce, a lot of people talk about the care. And care is a very small part of what we deliver. And so the homemakers are trained to be what's called a universal worker and self-led teams. So each home has about 10 homemakers, 4 full-time, and the rest are either part-time or casual. We don't use any agency staff. And the homemakers are trained to do the cooking, the cleaning, the engagement, the rostering, the budgeting. It's not led by registered nurses, it's led by the homemakers.
So your model is that you do have a nurse who might oversee several group homes?
So we have an entire support team, and in that support team are registered nurses and social workers. Don't undermine that dementia comes with ambiguity and loss and grief, and much of the complaints that come through to the RNs, probably there should be a social worker on staff. And so again, looking at the workforce architecture, it's looking at who supports the homes, who supports the homemakers, the residents, and the families. And so registered nurses do oversee, and we do have 24/7 coverage, but not on site.
Yeah, and the reality is you get remarkable results with your residents, don't you? So even saying that the average time is 3 to 4 years, so which is significantly longer than most people have residents for dementia. But behavioural changes, I've observed at your home significant behavioural changes. So, my mother had dementia with Lewy bodies and was very aggressive. How do you handle something like that?
So often, when we're training people, I often will say that dementia doesn't take people's dignity away. It's the people that take the dignity away from the person with dementia, and it's the people around them. There is a perception that people with Lewy bodies or frontotemporal dementia are aggressive. I call them unmet needs. If I locked you up, you would also get pretty aggressive. If I put Andrea Rio on replay for you, you'd probably throw something at the TV. If I sat you in a sing-along, now I don't know you, Chris, very well, but you don't strike me as someone that does sing-along or play bingo. But the chances are that if I did that every single day, and you were sitting down all day, you'd be banging on a door and becoming a little bit aggressive. And let's just layer on it a little bit more. If I brought a stranger into the shower and that you didn't know them and they started undressing you, you'd become resistive to care. So we have to stop dehumanizing or medicalizing something that every single person in this room would do the same. And so when you start humanizing the person and giving them the experiences and understanding who they are, who they were, understanding their life story, and you replicate those rituals and routines that they had, whether they were a marathon runner, whether they were someone who was really private, whether they were someone who loved to contribute to the household, whether they loved going out all day, you start seeing their needs met and a lot less unmet needs. We don't eliminate them, so it's not a magic wand, but we minimize them for sure.
So there was So the first group home that I visited was at Killara. And I was sort of taken aback by the overall environment. And I had all these doubts going through my mind, thinking it looks too good to be true. And I had the usual, and again, aggressive people with aggression in dementia. And Tamar said, well, actually, we have a gentleman in this home who was rejected by many other operators because of his aggression. And we said, no, we will, we'd be pleased to work with this gentleman. And we identified that he was a marathon runner. And so we identified that if he ran 15 kilometres every day, he would be a very happy person. And so we have one of our homemakers go for a run with him every day for 15 kilometres. And I thought to myself, bullshit. That does not happen. I'm sorry. And half an hour later, when we were actually walking through the home, one of your homemakers came out with a water bottle and his sneakers on, and the said gentleman also with a water bottle and his sneakers, and off they went. So he was going for his daily run. He was a very fit-looking homemaker that you had there.
He became a fit homemaker. He didn't start that way.
The other thing that is genuinely impressive is you do take your residents out every day.
So the big concept of not going out, in my mind, is a jail. So people in jail don't go out. And the concept of home is you leave it and you come back to it. And there has to be that routine and that rhythm that you go out and you go to purposeful places. And it might be a coffee shop, it might be for a bushwalk, it might be to the gallery, it might be wherever you think is meaningful and purposeful. It's incredible to see that our residents with dementia, albeit some very significant memory loss, when the minivan rocks up and the door opens, all the ladies run for their bags, the men run for their hats, and out the door they go. Because it's the feeling that it's generated, that they're not locked into a confined space or a confined garden, but that they do go out, and it's wonderful.
And with 6 to 10 residents, that's entirely plausible to do.
Yep, we do need to do a bit of education in the different local shopping centers, because dementia is messy. And so there's great opportunity there as well to be able to go to the local coffee shops. And we have a resident that every time she goes, she asks the waiters if they'll marry her. And they say no, and so and she would swear at them and tell them to F off. And so we said, we have two options. We can either stop coming here or just say yes. We won't hold you to anything. And so now she goes to the coffee shop 2-3 times a week. She asks the waiter, will you marry me? He says yes, thumbs up. She gets her coffee and a beautiful outing. We have to stop shying away from, what if they do something embarrassing? They might. And dementia is messy. There are days that it's very messy, but that's okay. And we need to lean into that and embrace it and educate and even celebrate it at times.
So in our conversations, and I was saying, well, how we need in the retirement village space in particular, assistance with dementia. And if we're not going to have beds that we can assist people to transition into, and we're going to have more people with care challenges and in particular dementia in villages, how can we bring the group home model to retirement villages? So the video that we showed yesterday with Judy, which was filmed a year ago, wasn't it, Judy? So that wasn't set up for today, where Judy was saying that dementia, there are at least 5 people in her village that have dementia that should be, need assistance. So, and what Judy was also saying is that managers are there until 5 o'clock, go home, and they're not there on the weekends. And so the residents with dementia and also the other residents are left on their own. So that you don't have people in villages 24/7 who are experienced in dementia. So wouldn't it be wonderful if we were able to have a group home in each village? And you also provide respite, don't you? So, even as a respite so the wife can have respite from the husband who might have dementia for a day or two.
So the way to think about it is as follows. Retirement Village, some of you are already doing care hubs and phenomenal work, and you all do, we all wake up in the morning trying to do phenomenal work. Dementia is a very specific skill, as you would all be very aware. And a retirement village might be very good at the general approach to aging and lifestyle and wellness and being able to cater to all these needs of an aging population. What you do incredibly well is you create a community already. Where the challenge is once a person develops dementia and significant dementia, they have to sometimes move out of the village, which is not fair. You want to be able to offer your clients, consumers, residents, participants a continuum of life, that they can continue to live there in a one-stop shop. Where we also have to move away is thinking of an all-or-nothing approach. It's either they stay in the village or they move out if they get dementia. Co-locating a group home on the land allows for 2 things. One, if the person does develop significant cognitive impairment, they could move within the village to a group home. They still stay in the community, and you will see a significant reduction in those unmet needs because there's familiarity. And the one thing we know that supports a person living with dementia is the familiarity and the friendliness. The other thing, and you mentioned it in your presentation, Chris, is that when couples are living together and the informal care or support partner is taking care of that person at home, respite at the moment in Australia is thought of as an accommodation, have a break. I'd encourage us to rethink about it, and this is where it becomes exciting, where it can be a flexible respite, where someone might move someone into a group home on the retirement village land, but we will train the support partner to be part of the solution, and then the person can go home. And they might do that a couple of times of transitioning between flexible respite, not the 21 days. It might be a weekend, it might be 5 days. And one of the big offerings that we do at the moment is people are coming into the community that have zero intention to ever move into a care environment, but they want to learn. And so the person will come in, they'll come for 5 days, and they go home and they get this beautiful plan with a support partner or the home care provider, and we're training the home care providers how to deliver the care. And they come in, we have people that come in for 4 days, and it might be over 6 months, a couple of days, and each time there's education and a break. So not an all or nothing approach, but very much a one size fits one, and tailoring that journey so that people can definitely live with dementia in their own home, in the community for longer.
And so if we were to look at having a group home within a retirement village, how much area would it require to build, because you basically purpose build a group home. So how much land, for instance, would you require?
Ideally 1,000 square meters. 1,000 square meters gives us the footprint that we want. And if you don't have 1,000 square meters, 750, I'm looking at our property person, 750 square meters is good enough. The other way to think about it is if you have a floor. So vertical homes, and that's one of the things is, you know, learning is about also going around the world and seeing what is everyone else doing, bringing it back and then deciding, well, how do we Australianize it? How do we customize it? How would we look at the different organization? It's not, again, there are people here that have racks, and they won't be able to do this, the standalone home, but are there elements to this approach that they can think about? And I'd encourage people to think about it. But to your point, 1,000 square meters, co-located, in your village would be wonderful.
And you now have you've perfected it. You've done it 26 times. So you have the IP, and you're keen to expand and share your IP and bring solutions. So if there are people in the room who would be interested in talking about having a group home in your village, you'd be very interested in speaking to them.
I would, and we haven't perfected it, we're mastering it. That means every single time we become better and better and better.
Right. So we could talk for another half hour, but it's lunchtime. But I do encourage everybody here to learn more about what the work Tamar has been doing. Everybody that we've introduced to Tamar has been absolutely blown away by the properties themselves, the staff, the programs, and how easy it all looks. I'm sure it's not easy, but but everybody looks very relaxed and chilled in a group home, which is the absolute opposite of a normal dementia experience. So can we show our appreciation? Okay, it's time for lunch. Thank you very much for staying with us. We're due to be back at 1:45. If we could aim to be back at around about 1:45, that would be excellent for the rest of the program. And we've got a great afternoon. We've got Norrell Wild, followed by Christopher Pine and Simon Miller and Ross Humphreys. All really excellent presentations. Thank you.